It's time for America's favorite sports car to get a facelift. Introducing the GTR Lighting Carbide Series C8 style headlights for your 2005 to 2013 Corvette. The idea with the headlights on the C6 Corvette was pretty cool. Those projectors, the paint matched inside portions, but in practice they weren't very bright and they didn't hold up very well to the elements. The problem is the lenses are literally facing the sky. If you look at a lot of newer vehicles, the headlights are on the front of the vehicle only facing forward. They don't get so much UV damage. The C6 Corvette headlights are probably baked to a crisp if you ever park your car outside or have never applied any type of protective coating to them. But even if your stock headlights are in pristine condition, you might still want to consider the upgrade to the C8 style headlights from GTR Lighting, because these are 540% brighter than stock. That is such a huge increase in light output. The C6 stock headlights look cool, but the lighting performance is really bad. And if you have one of these cars, you know what I'm talking about. Take a look at this low beam from the stock headlights on our C6 here. This thing barely lights up the road at all, and this is probably what your stock headlights look like. They come in at 100 maximum lux, and what that means is we use a digital lux meter, we park the car at 25 feet away, and we tested the actual measurable light output with a lux meter. Comparing this number to the lux of the aftermarket headlight helps us understand how much brighter one is over the other. The LED headlight from GTR Lighting, on the other hand, comes in at 640 maximum lux. That's 540% brighter than stock. That's brighter than most modern headlights. These things are insane. GTR Lighting has always been known to have the brightest products in the world, and this is a testament to that reputation. Now, the way the high beams work on the two different headlights is totally different. The original C6 headlight has a separate low beam and high beam. That way, you can actually stack the beam patterns on top of each other and get an increase in light output. The way the GTR Lighting Carbide headlights work is the brightest point actually stays the same at 640. It has a bi-LED projector that will open up and make a larger beam pattern, and it's still brighter than stock. The high beam on the stock Corvette headlights comes in at 350 maximum lux. That's a lot better than low, but still not very good. The high beam on the C8 style LED headlights from GTR Lighting is 640 maximum lux. That's 82% brighter than what you have on your car today. The fact that the GTR Lighting Carbide Series headlights are way brighter than stock is only one reason to upgrade. Another reason is obviously if you have destroyed headlights from the sun, that UV damage makes it almost impossible to see where you're going, and your car doesn't look very good anymore. The GTR Lighting Carbide Series have a hardened UV-resistant polycarbonate lens that look brand new, just as new as a C8 Vet. And the styling follows suit. You've got that C8 Corvette style daytime running light where you have one LED strip on the outside, one LED strip on the inside. Now when you hit your turn signal, that white DRL switches to a sequential amber turn signal. Now keep in mind, it only does sequential. If you don't like that look, you're gonna have to get over it. In my opinion, it is super cool. Your stock C6 headlights use a projector with an HID bulb and an HID ballast. That's not how the new headlights work at all. Now everything is completely LED integrated, and you can't swap it out if you wanted to. That means they're maintenance free. There is no bulb that goes bad to swap out. You don't have to worry about that. Instead, this projector is called a bi-LED projector. There's an LED, a high power LED mounted on a surface board in the back of the headlight that shines through this projector, and when you hit the high beam, it opens up to create a larger beam. So that's how you get that intense low beam and this really cool sleek look that looks like the more modern cars. And of course, you've got that cool blackout look that everybody loves. Before we jump into the actual install, I need to explain a couple wire configurations. This is a part of the video you got to pay attention to because it's really important on how you do the wiring to get the desired effect. The DRL also has a startup sequence. It looks like this. You can see every time you start up the car, you get the LEDs scrolling around and they stack up, and you get that cool effect that everybody really loves. But depending on how you do the wiring, it can either happen when you start the car or when you turn on the headlights. Let me explain. On the back side of the headlight, you have this waterproof grommet where the wiring comes out, and you have one connector on the end, and that's all you have to plug in to your headlight. You could just do that and be done. You could plug this in and drive your car and have great light output and great modern car looks. But if you just leave it like this and don't add any other wiring, your DRL strips will not illuminate white when you're driving with the headlights off. Instead, the one top strip will illuminate amber. You also won't have that startup sequence when you turn on the ignition. You will only have the startup sequence when you turn on the headlights. The way that they're supposed to be installed, but you get a choice, is to actually disconnect this wire and install the DRL fuse tap wire. Adam's going to show you how to do the install in a minute, but this is basically what it looks like. On one end you have a connector that goes into your fuse block with a couple fuses, and then the other side has a couple single wire connectors. You run that to your fuse box that gives you ignition power, and then you run the other side to your headlight like this. Now you no longer have the white wire coming off your headlight connector running this circuit. Now it's being run by ignition. Originally this white wire was your stock parking light. Now we are not using your stock parking light wiring anymore. Instead of an amber light with this hooked up to your fuse box, we get that super bright white light for DRL, and every time you start the car you get that animated startup sequence. With this configuration, your daytime running light is always white until you hit the turn signal and it'll blink amber.
The first step is to open the hood. Turn the wheel to the side so you can reach the fender liner. Now we can move the fender liner. There's 5 clips that we need to take off in order to remove it. These clips should pop out easily with a pry tool or a flathead screwdriver. Now reach the side of the fender liner and unplug the side marker and fog light. There's 2 10mm bolts that we have to remove. There's one in the front of the fender and one hidden behind the side marker. It's kind of hard to reach to, but you can get to it. Once you've done that, move to the other side and repeat these same steps. Now we can move underneath the car. We need to remove 1 10mm nut and 3 7mm bolts. Do the same steps for the other side. Under the hood there are 4 7mm bolts that you have to remove. This will allow you to pry off the bumper. Start by gently prying on this location, then use a pry tool to loosen the sides up by the headlights. Do the same step for the other side. Now loosen either side of the bumper right by the headlights and move to the center of the bumper to pull it away from the vehicle. Now that the bumper is removed, we can take off the headlights. There's 1 connector and 3 10mm bolts. Now to loosen up the fender, we'll need to remove this 10mm bolt located right here. Next is to remove these 6 T15 screws on top of the fender. Now that we have all the bolts removed from the fender, we can now begin by removing the headlight. Make sure to be a little bit careful, you can damage it. You have to pull out and over a bracket and at the same time pull up on this side of the fender. Now gently lift the headlight up. Be careful not to bend the fender too much. It is made of fiberglass and it can crack. Now we have those old tired housings off the car. We can put on the new GTR Carbide housings, but first we have to run the DRL harness. Now let's open up the fuse box. Remove the 15-amp fuse located right here and replace it with the DRL harness. Close the fuse box up and run the short side of the DRL harness to the passenger side and the longer side of the harness to the driver's side. Now we can install the new GTR Carbide housing. Make sure to be a little bit careful with the fender when installing it so you don't scratch it up. Now let's plug in the connections. First your main headlight plug and next the DRL harness. Once you're done installing the headlight, make sure you're going through all of the functions to make sure everything is functioning properly. Once you confirm that everything works, you can now tidy up any loose wiring and button the rest of the car up.
The GTR Lighting Carbide Series LED headlights are a no-brainer game changer for your C6. And that's not it. We have tons of lighting upgrades for your Corvette. Go check out headlightrevolution.com, put in your year, make, and model, and we'll show you exactly what fits your car. And if you want to learn more about lighting technology, go check out the other videos on our channel.